The cost of higher education continues to rise. Online applications and deadlines are complex for most young adults and families. University of Connecticut's Director of Financial Aid, Mona Lucas, tells us where to start.
We always encourage parents to start by filing the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. That's an application that's going to ask families for their most recently completed year's income. Most need-based financial aid at universities across the country, colleges across the country, typically use the result of this free application for federal student aid. So that's where we ask families to start as early as January of the year the student plans to enroll in college that fall semester.
Is it virtually impossible for a child to do this all on their own?
Yes, I think I would agree with that. In most cases, the application is going to ask a student who's under the age of 24 to provide parental information. So the student can certainly complete part of the application, but in most cases, it's also going to ask for parental income information.
What if you have a family that's not intact and perhaps the student has little dealings with one parent and the parent won't give the information? What do you do about something like that?
Great question, and that does happen from time to time. What we do in those situations is encourage the student to connect with the institution he or she is interested in attending. What we have the authority to do is to review each student's case by case, and to evaluate special or unusual circumstances.
Oh, that's great.
So in that situation, we may be in a position to utilize either the student's income information or perhaps one parent.
Oh, that's so important to know for certain students. Explain how the combination of financial aid, scholarship, and loans works together.
What generally happens, and this may vary school to school because policies are established at each institution, the process begins with that free application for federal student aid. But at the point the student applies for admission to the university, in many cases the university, typically the admissions office, is reviewing the academic profile and a student's activities while they were in high school, perhaps either at the high school or in their community, to determine whether or not the student meets the criteria for merit or talent-based awards. And financial aid at the same time is behind the scenes calculating what might be available from the need-based side that really is not linked to academic profile as long as the student is admitted into the institution. So the first notification a student may receive is going to be whether or not the student was selected for one of the merit-based awards, because that generally comes along with the offer of admission to the institution or shortly thereafter.
And when in the calendar year is that going to come to the student?
That's great. That would be generally February.
Okay.
Probably early March at the latest is when the admissions offers are rolled out. And then, so in that, again, maybe along with the admissions offer or a week or so following the offer, generally the merit announcements are sent. Slightly later than that, and I'm talking now by weeks, maybe mid-March, it could be April at some institutions, but typically mid-March, the need-based awards, we start to unveil those or issue those need-based awards. What must happen at institutions is before the need-based offers are issued, financial aid must take into account resources that the institution is aware that have been awarded to a student. So the student has been awarded a merit award, financial aid will look at that merit award, combine that with whatever is available on the need-based side, and just make sure a student isn't over-awarded. Generally these days, based on the fact that there are generally larger pools of students eligible for financial aid than some institutional budgets can support. So it works best when a student does receive perhaps a merit award and a combination of need-based money, and put the two sources together, and that is a more attractive financial aid package. Now, when I talk about the need-based package, that's where the loans come into play. The need-based forms of financial aid include grants and scholarships, which are our need-based scholarships, which are our most preferred forms of financial aid.
Sure.
But we also have loan programs as well as work programs that are need-based forms of financial aid. So we put together what we call a financial aid package, and that would be a combination, hopefully, of loans, grants, scholarships, possibly work, and then any other resource we are aware of.
If the student is low income and have no resources available to put towards their education, are there enough programs that a student could still come to college?
Yes, that is the case. Again, policies vary from college to college, university to university. I would venture to say the focus on assisting low-income students, or what we may think of them as high-need students. Everyone's committed to trying to remove those financial barriers so that students have an opportunity to enroll in college. The student certainly may have to accept loans, may have to accept a need-based position, 10 hours, 15 hours of work study on campus, but we try to put together a financial aid package using sources from the federal government, the state governments, as well as the institution. And when you pool those resources, you are in a better position to offer a competitive financial aid package.
It's important for students to note that it's doable even if they don't have the resources to obtain the education initially.
Yes, and worth noting also are tuition payment plans. So let's say a student has no financial support from the family based on the family's income, and the financial aid package still has somewhat of a gap between what the student owes for the cost of attendance for a year versus what the student was awarded. Then many institutions participate in payment plans that allow the students to pay whatever's left over the course of 10 months. We want to make the university affordable, and payment plans are one way to help a student or a family meet those financial obligations spread over the course of maybe 10 months instead of paying everything up front.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, a leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.